last night. Trustee Colette Machado had a stroke. So I hope that all of you will keep her in your thoughts and prayers as we go forward today. I believe she's over at Queens. We will try to, we missed one person last night in the 3,300 range that we had intended to have testify. Is he or she here? Say you. What's your number?
I am 33315.
33315. Okay, proceed. And remember, we have a 2-minute rule.
Okay.
Not that you can forget after 27 hours of testimony.
Is the timer there?
Yeah.
Okay. I can't see it. I'm sorry. Aloha. I'm Robert Nagamini, 3315 from Kailua, strong enough opposition to SB1. Too many imperfections and will cause unintended damage. I'm retired Lieutenant Colonel with 33 years of military service since the time of Vietnam. The military has fought to protect the First Amendment. I urge you to ensure the strongest language of the free exercise of religion, not only to churches, but of individuals of their faith. Please honor those who have fought and died to preserve the free exercise of religion. We must not believe that this is about equal protection or civil rights. Instead, traditional marriages receives benefits for the potential to bring the benefit of the next generation, so we give them benefits in return. Same-sex marriages are different and don't naturally bring on you use a football and volleyball. Sounds good? Are horses and zebras the same? Don't redefine marriage that existed for thousands of years. This bill will bring unintended damage in redefining marriage. I think that legalizing same-sex marriage will highly encourage and promote them. Educationally, it would confuse the children of the natural designs of nature and creation. Those who would normally be straight might be encouraged to become gay. Our children will lose potential good straight husbands and wives. Because of those people will be encouraged to go the alternate endorsed lifestyle. Please vote no. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. Because this is the last person in this group, members, do you have any questions for him? Okay, seeing none, we'll go on to the next group. I believe it's 3,400.
Good morning. My name is Felipe San Nicolas. My number is 3581.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning. Thank you for letting me testify. You sit in a unique place in history of our state. You have been empowered by the people. For 3 days, I've heard lots of testimony from both sides. Those that feel they will lose their civil rights and constitutional rights versus those that believe they are second class and have less rights. I believe history stands with me when I say there are laws that make things legal, but not all law is right. Take abortion, it is legal, but 54 million babies, 3,000 a day, have lost their lives. This is bad law. I am not sure what the outcome will be, but I respectfully ask you to fairly and equally look at all sides of this issue. Forget the hype, drama, rhetoric, threats, hate speech, false information, and at least, if not nothing else, at minimum, revise SB1 so all sides will have a proper, fair, impartial, unbiased piece of legislation that we can live with in accordance with the Constitution. This is a tall challenge and deserves your utmost attention and diligence. The Constitution has guided this nation for over 200 years. Please use it, read it, understand it, and apply it to all your efforts. History will vindicate or curse your decisions. Place your vote where it will stand the test of time, criticism, and challenge. Leave a legacy of goodness, fairness, and righteousness. God bless you, and thank you for your service. I do have suggestions if you are open to them, but I believe my time is over. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next up.
Kamuela Warner, 3440. Aloha mai na luna, makai nana o Hawaii nei. I'm 24 years old, born in Honolulu, raised in Waianae, the second of 11 children, and a very proud gay man. This morning I come before you as a fellow human being, prompted here by the words of late Eleanor Roosevelt, where she says, "No one can make you feel inferior without your consent." To acquiesce and deny my sexuality is the consent I once afforded my parents, whose scrutiny was relived while walking amongst the opponents in this chamber. With that said, I am in absolute support of SB1. This is not only for myself and my partner of 4.5 years, who is the love of my life, but also to reassert to all of you very clearly that LGBTI citizens should have an inherent place in the society at an equal height and footing as heterosexuals. My partner and I both are from Hawaii, graduate of public high school, degree-holding alumni of UH Manoa, and contributing taxpayers of this state. Yet as two intelligent, consenting adults who love one another, we are unable to marry because of the selective and inconsistent preferences of religious extremists who hold a strange bearing in an arena that should otherwise operate on equitable reasoning. I respectfully urge the members of this committee to contemplate the judicious words of Thomas Jefferson, that though the will of the majority is in all cases to prevail, that will to be rightful must be reasonable, that the minority possesses their equal rights, which equal law must protect, and to violate would be oppression. The quality of my life and of so many others is contingent upon your swift due diligence. Please grant us this long-delayed bill. Mahalo.
Thank you very much. Next, please.
Good morning, chairs. Three points that I'd like to bring out, and the first one, maybe I can illustrate this with a little analogy or a story, and that is this. If we had two people and they came into a doctor's office, and by the way, I'm not a doctor, but if they came into the doctor's office and these two individuals came up and said, "Hey, doc, I have a headache and it hurts right here." And the doctor says, "Okay, good. Take 2 aspirins and come see me in the morning." The next guy comes in and he says the same exact thing. "Doc, I have a headache and it hurts right here." And this time the doc says, "Well, listen, I tell you what, why don't you get over here and we're going to start a lobotomy on you." All right? Now, 2 very extreme diagnoses, but which one is correct? And the fact of the matter is, we don't know. Not until we have enough information, perhaps x-rays, records, to be able to truly justify what is the correct diagnosis. The person with the aspirins could die tomorrow with an aneurysm. The person with a lobotomy could have been excessive, and I think most of you would agree to that. This past week we've been sitting in here and listening to testimonies, and I've been hearing how you as a panel have gotten kind of beat up, and I truly empathize with you. And I'm hearing in the line, I'm hearing in the testimonies that the voices are not being heard. Well, I have maybe a little slight twist to that. I think you guys are hearing them, and I applaud you for that. But in sales.
Thanks very much. Next,
I lost
please.
it, didn't I? Thank you.
Hi, my name is Izumi Kawakami. My number is 3488. Good morning. I am in strong opposition to SB1. I have lived in Hawaii most of my life. I am a voting citizen and currently live in Mililani with my husband Sean and our 2 girls who are here with me today. I'm 28 years old and I want you to know that I am from the younger generation and I do care greatly about this issue. I strongly disagree with redefining marriage. I do not hate the LGBT community. I am a wife, I am a mother, and I value and love all people without discrimination. I am all for people being treated equally. I'm aware that our society is changing and that the gay and lesbian community is there, and we face them and we see them every day. I'm also aware of the changes it will bring to our education system and the effect it will have on our children, families, communities, and our state in the long run. My ultimate desire as a mother is to teach my children in truth in everything and from right from wrong. But as we all know, parents aren't the only influencers of children and our youth today. And as a protective and loving mother, this concerns me very greatly. As I talked to my coworkers about this bill and the ramifications it could have upon our communities, they were very surprised to hear that it's more than just an equality issue. They didn't know of the effects that it could have on our education system and just the religious exemptions law as well. Why change something that has been in place for centuries in just a few days? I really feel like this bill needs more time. The community needs more time to be educated. And so please vote no on SB1. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Next, please.
Aloha. My name is Eileen Sproat. My number is 3439. I am in opposition to SB1. I would like to remind all of us of principles that our founding fathers established our government upon. John Adams, our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate to the government of any other. James Madison, to suppose that any form of government will secure liberty or happiness without virtue in the people is a chimerical or unreal idea. Today, standards have changed, laws rewritten, but that doesn't make it right. Believe it or not, you can't change the law of gravity, and you can't change marriage is between a man and a woman. Correct principles and standards must be upheld just as rules must be followed and commandments obeyed, as we all if that time comes that the voice of the people does choose iniquity, then is the time that the judgment of God will come upon you. Yea, this is the time he will visit you with great destruction, and our land of aloha will not be aloha anymore. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, please.
My name is Gary Hockett. My number is 3499. Thank you, Chair Rhodes, Chair Liu, committee members. I am testifying in opposition to SB1. I submitted my testimony online, but would like to add to it today. With the prevalence of a postmodern worldview in our society and having lost our fear of God, we are confronted with issues such as this. How then do we decide social issues without a moral compass or absolute truth on which to base our decisions? I have full faith and confidence that if given enough time, that this legislative body could find a solution that would afford the benefits that the LGBT community seeks without affecting marriage. Recently, a quote from the Senate stated, "The Senate's bill preserves religious freedoms and ensures that the rights of all Americans are preserved as enshrined in the United States and Hawaii Constitution." I would suggest that the opposite is true. The thought here being that by not passing this bill, we would be discriminating against a few. With that said, why are organizations like the Boy Scouts being fundamentally changed to allow gay members? Why are numerous businesses ridiculed, sued, and forced to close their doors for just stating their beliefs? In my opinion, Governor Abercrombie and those in the Senate made the first draft of this bill woefully inadequate in an effort to back those who oppose it into a corner. causing us to focus on the original draft and how it would affect churches, schools, and families, and then pulling the public accommodations out of the bill to appease the church and those who opposed it. Now they are presenting us with the final offer and forcing us to accept it or subject us to being deemed uncompromising haters and bigots. This is bait and switch politics. SB1 counters the intent of the 98 Amendment, and policy is being dictated to the people of Hawaii who greatly oppose it. Please vote no on this bill.
Thanks very much. Next up.
This is not the same one that I sent on the email. My number is 3415. Aloha mai kākou. My name is Carla Kahikino Okalalani Keli'iho Omalu Akiona. I am 75% Hawaiian. I am 60 years old, and Hawaii is my hale. I am not a transient, nor have I come from foreign lands. I have always lived in Hawaii. My father was born in 1899 in a grass shack in Kalapana, Hawaii Island. He was 100% Hawaiian, and so were his parents, great-grandparents, great-great-great-grandparents, and beyond. My mother was 50% Hawaiian, and she was born in 1920 in Kapa'a, Kauai. Her mother, grandparents, great-great-grandparents, and beyond were 100% Hawaiian. I come before you today with a multitude of my ancestors, not only gathered about me, but also standing on my shoulders. I also represent my descendants, and we are against same-sex marriage. We Hawaiians have had so much taken from us, and just when you think there's nothing more that can be taken, this happens. We don't appreciate people coming into our hale, robbing us of our religious freedoms, trying to destroy our families, restricting our voting rights, and polluting these spiritual lands by dismantling what God has instituted, marriage between one man, one woman. Hawaii is a beacon to the world. Keep it God's country. We are all children of God, and as such, we have inherited many things from Him, one of which is a divine nature, a divine spirit that whispers to us deep within our na'au what is right and what is wrong. We certainly do know the difference. So we are asking you today to do the right thing, safeguard our families, protect Hawaii, our religious freedoms, and our voting rights. Serve your Almighty God and kill this bill.
Next, please.
Mahalo.
I am a junior in high school, and I am in strong opposition of SB1. I may be a part of a generation that cannot yet vote, but I want to let you know that many of my friends and peers are concerned about this issue. We have emailed, called, written, and even visited our representatives in an effort to let you all know that we are concerned about this issue. I represent your next generation of government officials and Hawaii's upcoming workforce. Your decision upon this bill will have the largest impact upon my generation. In a matter of years, I will be voting and will be able to look back upon this session. Please give my parents and all of these parents here the respect of allowing them to vote on behalf of these families in Hawaii. Ultimately, this is a parent's job to decide on how their children will live in the coming years. If I cannot vote, let my parents choose what they believe in and what they believe is best for their children. I do have a mother and father, but recently my father has gone on a missions field. I have not seen him in 3 years. And I can tell you that my life has not been the same. Even with my female mentors and people I know, and people I look up to, they do not replace the role of a father. By passing SB1, you're advocating same-sex marriage, and that you don't need a mother and a father. Believe me, I have not seen my dad in 3 years, and I can say that a family needs a mom and a dad. So let the parents decide. Mahalo.
Thanks very much. Next up, please.
Hi, my name is Lois Lee. My number is 3589, and I oppose this bill. I'm adding to what I have already submitted. Setting aside the constitutionality and the deceptive infringements of speech and religion, please look at the voter's voice. If the concern is truly for improving the benefits for homosexual community, then look at the open bills to adjust civil unions for the desired benefits. This bill also oversteps the power of parental rights, basically saying that minors as young as 15 will receive a permission from for a homosexual marriage from the court, not the parent. A 15-year-old will think differently when they are at the age of 20, and parents know their minors better than the courts. This is wrong, illegal, and morally corrupt. In '98, the vast majority of we the voters defined marriage between the opposite sex. The governor wants to change the original amendment to include homosexual marriage. That is a whole new amendment that needs to be voted by the people. Thousands and thousands came out Monday to say no to the bill. They said, let the people decide. What is the legislation afraid of to let the people vote? Please do not repeat the Senate's behavior. We know better. If the Senate side did not listen to the people and the voters of Hawaii, it was we know better performance, and I really hope and pray that this side will not do the same. Please listen to the voters, listen to us.
Thanks very much. Next, please.
Number 3580. My name is Mel Yukamoto, and I'm against SB1, but from a different angle. I'm an information systems consultant trained by IBM, so I understand how to manage information. I'm also personally trained by the founder of a problem-solving concept, an outstanding concept called strategic thinking. In the past 20 years, I was asked to solve the problem of over 4,000 people and also businesses. And the issues were all over the place. If you name a problem, I probably met with a person that had that problem. In solving a problem, you have to start with the issue of how did this problem happen. So I did research with all the people I met with, and we tracked the history of the family even to 3-4 generations past. And a pattern came up. And as an information man, you watch for patterns. And a pattern is that in the family history, there is an incident, a tragedy, a trauma that caused a lot of pain for the family, and a child is involved, and a child picks up the pain and makes a commitment to be the one to resolve the pain for the family. And it alters the child's behavior as an adult, and abnormal behavior begins. Now, when that child has their children, that pain is passed on to the children, and they repeat the same thing, and goes through generation after generation. But each generation, the pain gets bigger and bigger. From the pain, the problem they had disappeared. The pattern of the, I'm sorry.
Thank you very much. Next, please.
I am Sharon Toyomura, number 3464 from Pearl City. I am a registered voter, and Representative Greg Takayama is my representative. I urge you to vote no on SB1. Same-sex marriage will produce marriage inequality rather than marriage equality. As currently defined, all adult citizens may marry a member of the opposite sex. No one is left out. However, as soon as same-sex proponents are allowed to redefine marriage to allow their special interest group to gain the legal status of marriage with all of its benefits, other sexual minority groups, such as polygamists, will want the right to marry as well. Ours is a government of, by, and for the people. This means the majority of people, not one vocal and politically powerful interest group. Marriage has benefits, but it also has responsibilities. A most important function of marriage is to produce and raise children and to teach them what it means to be a man or a woman. A father cannot fulfill the role of a mother, nor can a mother fulfill the role of a father. All children have a biological mother and father. They have a desire to know their parents and the relatives on both sides, grandparents, cousins, aunties, uncles. To know one's natural parents and relatives and to be loved and raised by them is the best possible scenario. Couples consisting of 2 men or 2 women cannot produce children. They should not be allowed to have the same rights as heterosexual married couples if they cannot fulfill the same roles as producers, nurturers, and role models for children of both genders. People such as myself who believe that God ordained marriage as a sacred covenant between one man and one woman will find our deeply cherished religious beliefs branded as hate speech and bigotry. The founders of our country, most of whom were Christian, would object to this. Same-sex marriage will have a detrimental effect on our children and our society in general. Please do not attempt to redefine marriage. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up, please.
Aloha, my name is Kelsey Kama'u, and my number is 3454. I am a married mother of 3 little girls, and I have my baby here today. We've been here 3 times, so I'm excited I'm up here. And I am from the North Shore, and I strongly oppose SB1. I have concerns about the way that this bill is written and the effects it will have on our state. And my main concerns are pertaining to religious freedoms, protection of small businesses, and education of same-sex marriage in our schools. I will address religious freedoms. I have my own religious beliefs. For instance, I know that I'm a child of God, but I'm not going to push that on anyone else. And I know that others may not believe the same, but I don't force them to. This is freedom of religion. This bill forces every religion to accept same-sex marriage or deal with the consequences, which is very harsh, and it's unconstitutional. Religion and state are separate and must stay that way. The 11th article of faith in my religion states, we claim the privilege of worshiping Almighty God according to the dictates of our own conscience and allow all men the same privilege. Let them worship how, where, or what they may. And I believe this is true. There's far too much going on in this bill to be passed in a special session. My family came, we've been here almost every day this week. We came here to trick or treat because this is so important to us. Thousands of people feel very strongly about this bill and are making great sacrifices, changing their schedules, being here, and want to be heard and make a difference. Please let the people decide. We, the people. We are the people. It's our country. Please listen to us and listen to our voices. Please vote no on SB1. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up, please.
My name is James Mitchell. This is my wife, Marie Francoise Mitchell. Aloha. My number, by the way, Chairman Rose and Luke, the Judiciary and Financial Committee members, I thank you for your hard work and taking the time to truly hear each of our testimonies. I rise strongly to oppose Bill HB1 for 3 reasons. We believe that no legislative body, in fact, no government body, has the right to change the definition of marriage either deliberately or by default. Its definition has been set by a creator for the sole purpose of creating and maintaining the building block of all civilizations, the building block in all civilizations, the family. But government does have the right to seek equality of benefits and the protections. I really feel in Hawaii that this can be done through a comprehensive revision of civil unions legislation. Number two, the studies of 82 civilizations by social anthropologists show that the decline of the family, without exception, has caused the decline of that civilization. Family, safeguarding family is the key to this. Lastly, many of our legislatures have questioned us.
Thank you very much. Next, please.
Good morning, Chair Rhodes, Chair Luke, and members of the House Committees on Judiciary and Finance. My name is Leslie Jones. I'm number 3528, and I'm here to testify in opposition to Senate Bill 1. At the heart of this bill is an honorable idea, a concept that we hold dear and indeed foundational as a nation and as people of the Aloha spirit here in Hawaii, the idea that all persons are created equal. While supporting this idea is a noble pursuit, I submit to you that in its attempt to do so, this measure misses the mark. The notion that we are all created equal is an absolute truth, but equality must not be confused with sameness. Men and women are created equal, but we realize this does not mean they are the same. They are biologically different and express their needs and wants in different ways. In the same manner, Hawaii citizens are all created equal, but at the same time are individually different from one another, each with unique wants and needs. The tradition of our nation and our culture has always sought to honor these differences. This bill on same-sex marriage attempts to honor equality among Hawaii citizens, but in so doing confuses equality with sameness and should be amended to better accomplish its purpose. Hawaii is a special place, and we have always done things a bit differently than other places, and for good reason. We consider what others have done, and we reinterpret it to preserve and protect our unique traditions and culture, as we must do with this bill. We have an opportunity here, if we are aware of it and accept it, to offer a uniquely balanced and aloha-filled win-win solution, win-win solution to the rest of our nation. Marriage as an institution has a unique history and purpose under the law. Marriage was not created by government. It is a religious institution, a specific expression of religious freedom. Everyone understands that you're trying to redress a perceived inequity between civil unions and traditional marriage. Given the legitimate concerns that have been raised, let us work on a win-win solution in a way that respects all loving unions, our special culture, and religious freedom. Please oppose or amend this version of SB1 along the lines that Kahu and Judge recommended last night.
Thank you very much
for this opportunity to testify.
Members, let's go ahead and break here and ask if anyone has questions for the previous group of testifiers. Representative Vice Chair Har.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can I have Gary Hockett please come up? And I'm sorry, Mr. Hockett, what was your number again? Good morning, Mr. Hockett. Thank you for being with us and thank you for your testimony. Something I wanted to get into, there's been so much discussion about religious freedom, and you had there's been so much discussion about this particular measure. It's been made clear, whether it's from the Attorney General, that the religious exemption in this bill only deals with solemnization, and that is it. Okay, and then there's been a lot of discussion about individual religious freedom as well as the religious freedom of businesses. Then there's been this talk about public accommodations out there, kind of floating out there. So I wanted you to talk about this issue with businesses because you specifically noted it in your testimony about businesses being forced to close their doors because of the lack of religious protection.
I just added that in there because it was important to kind of grasp the effect of what the Senate had stated, and it seemed to me that it was quite the opposite because Dan Cathy, you know how he stands, and based on his public testimony of the way he believes, businesses like Chick-fil-A were targeted, and essentially, and I just thought that was important, thinking that it wasn't just a equity across the board, but that even stating what you believed in would subject you to ridicule and to possibly be targeted and have to close down.
Okay, but Mr. Hockett, you saw that in the actual exemption language, there is an exception to the exemption, which is this for-profit. That seems to be this magical, these two words out there, even with respect to the churches and their exemption. Many of my colleagues believe that if you're a business, you're held out to the public, and you are making a profit, you cannot discriminate, period, and that your religious views are not protected. Your First Amendment freedoms do not come into play. And so I think that's something that we need to address. And I don't think that's clearly addressed in this bill. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Members, any other questions?
Chair.
Representative Ward.
Far right. Ms. Kama'au, I think it's Kelsey, number 3454. And she's got a helper this time.
I have a helper.
Ms. Kama'au, you said that this bill, SB1, forces every religion to support same-sex marriage. Did you mean every religion? I gather you're coming from a Christian perspective?
I am coming from a Christian perspective, yes. From what I understand, the bill is not very, I don't know. For me, it's not clear exactly. The wording, I'm sorry. Let me take a second. It appears to me that if we don't allow same-sex marriage to take place in our facilities, that there's repercussions for that. Which I understand that, same-sex marriage couples and people, they have their beliefs. I don't understand why it would need to be, put into every religion, I'm sorry. It's very hard for me to articulate what I'm trying to say.
What I was going to ask, and it's generally to the audience, imagine that you're a Muslim. Would you feel that this bill gave you little leverage? In fact, are there any Muslims in the group?
That's what I'm saying. If I was Muslim, I wouldn't go to another church and ask to be married at their church. I would go with what my religion is. I'm not going to go somewhere else and try to say, hey, I don't believe what you do, but let me do this in your church. And that doesn't make sense to me. There's a reason why we have different groups of people. We all believe different things. We all have different, convictions. And I'm not going to go out there and say, hey, I got married this way and you have to too, or you have to accept that I'm getting married this way. Does that make sense?
So if this bill, you're going to accept same-sex marriage?
What's that?
So if the bill passes, you're going to accept same-sex marriage?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
That's what, in your testimony, I wanted to know if that was a literal
No, I oppose same-sex marriage.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Members, any other questions?
Is that all right?
Lee.
Thank you. Just one more question, Kelsey.
Okay.
Apologize.
That's
We had
all right.
heard, I don't know if you had seen the previous day's testimony, but there were some religious leaders who stepped up saying that in accordance with their religious beliefs, they wanted the ability to be able to marry same-sex couples. And I guess with your statement there, not wanting to obviously force any one religion into doing something that opposes their beliefs or box them in, how can we provide those people that really
There's possibly churches that would allow that, and they would welcome that in their church, and that. But I'm just saying that not every church needs to have to accept it because it goes against their beliefs. Does that answer your question?
So I think we all agree that we don't want to force anybody to do anything that they absolutely
don't want to do right. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
In accordance with their religious beliefs. But right now, the law prohibiting same-sex marriage is prohibiting folks in certain churches who, according to their religious beliefs, can and want to marry same-sex couples from doing so. So it's an infringement on their belief
Okay, I
according to them.
understand what you're saying.
So how can we How can we rectify that?
What would be a solution to that? I don't know. I don't agree with same-sex marriage.
I guess you acknowledge, though, that there are other churches that do, according to their own religion.
Right, and they may have a solution for that. I don't know personally what the solution should be for that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Thank you, Chair.
Let me just check and see if anybody else has any other questions, and we'll go to Representative Hara. Okay, Representative Onishi, and we'll get back to you.
If Mr. Hockett could come back.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Hockett, you mentioned Chick-fil-A in your testimony. Not in your verbal testimony, but in your written testimony and in the questioning by Representative Har. What was the issue with Chick-fil-A, and how many of their enterprises or their stores or outlets were closed? Do you know?
Oh, well, the issue, as I understand it, was when their CEO, Dan Cathy, stated what his beliefs were, and that immediately set them up for being, that immediately set them up for being targeted. And I don't have with me how many stores that would have possibly been, but I could certainly research it and find out. Just by stating his belief, and I assume because he is a CEO, that triggered a firestorm, which we heard all over the news, and I don't just suppose it is with Chick-fil-A, but it could happen. And I stated it because it is kind of an unknown of what, by approving this, what we would be subjecting ourselves to, or opening a door to. So just by seeing what has happened in the past.
Yeah, do you know how many of the Chick-fil-A stores were closed, if any?
No, sir, I don't have that on.
Okay. It does show here, I kind of Googled them, and it did show that they were sued because they fired a manager of one of the stores because he was Muslim and refused to pray at a training session, and that suit was settled. So my concern is that, in terms of a company that is servicing the public, do you think that there's any room for discrimination amongst their employees or the people that they serve?
Well, I think once in the hiring process, that should be laid out what a company's beliefs are up front, so that could be resolved initially, and you wouldn't come up with problems like that. That wouldn't, of course, solve everything, because there could be conversions in the process once you're employed there. But I think there is a fundamental belief that a company would have, and that would dictate to a degree whether someone would want to be employed there or not, or seek to work elsewhere.
You are aware, though, that in hiring practices, it is illegal to ask a person what their religion is?
Yes, sir, but I kind of understand it to be like if you have like a Christian preschool, that's been kind of a topic here. Your basic beliefs will be Christian values, and that's what you would try to instill into the children. So I think it wouldn't be a
we've been stripped from many of our rights, our lands, and of course we don't want to open that whole can of worms in this short time. We have our queen, you know, that whole issue with the illegal overthrow. And so it's very hurtful for us. It has been very difficult for the Hawaiians to survive in their own homeland. And so when we have foreign influences that come into our hale, that come here, that is not so good, that will not be good, not only for us, but for all of the other people that have come to live in Hawaii that are not Hawaiian. So this doesn't only affect me, you know, and the Hawaiian people, but you have to take a look at how much has been taken from us. And I see this as more. They want more and more and more from us.
Okay,
What-
Ms.
you
Akiona,
understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. How do you deal with the contention, though, that Hawaii is the land of aloha? We aloha everyone.
Okay.
So by not passing this bill, we would not be alohaing including the LGBT population.
Okay, you need to understand what aloha is. You have to understand what it is, and most people do not know what aloha is. Aloha is everything that is pono, everything that is righteous, correct, and everything that is in the light. Anything else is other, is dark. So if you want to talk about love, kindness, and compassion, and all of those things, that's what it is. Aloha is the most sacred word in the Hawaiian culture, and it is being used very frivolously by people utilizing my culture, my aloha, you know, my culture to pass what is, we all know, is wrong. To push for something that is wrong is not aloha. Define aloha appropriately, correctly. It is what is pono. We can love one another. You know, we have a very old saying, Hawaiian saying, aloha ke akua. Do you know what aloha ke akua means? God is love. Okay? Love comes under light. You cannot put homosexuality under aloha because it is not in the light. Understand aloha. Research aloha before you come out and use my culture, my aloha, what you folks don't know anything about. When you try to say, change it, aloha is homosexuality. Aloha is the aloha state that has two men getting married, two women getting married.
Okay, Ms. Akiona, thank you.
I'm sorry.
Okay, wait, one last final question.
Yes, okay.
So you keep talking about the culture, the Native Hawaiian culture.
Yes.
Thank you. I appreciate your passion.
Okay.
You talk about the Native Hawaiian culture, and are you essentially saying, though, if we were to pass this measure, that this would affect the Native Hawaiian culture?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. Mr. Chairman. Any members, any other questions? Representative Ng.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to call up the young Native Hawaiian gentleman that gave testimony. Near the beginning. From YNI, age 24. Kaluna.
Okay, all right. Anybody else?
If not the last testifier, could you please come up?
Okay. I'm sorry, someone's, yeah, thank you.
Aloha.
Aloha. Oh, there you are.
So do you know what testifier I was talking about? There's a young Native Hawaiian gentleman who is proudly gay.
Pardon?
I guess he left the room.
From where, Anai?
Yeah, he had to go to work.
Yes.
So do you think that gentleman deserves the same rights that you and I do as straight Hawaiians?
Well, not if it's, well, I think he deserves rights. I do. But I don't believe that he should
spirit, rolled up into one body. They embraced aikane. They shared a lot of aloha for these people. Those involved with intimate relations with the same sex. Punalua, those men and women who had multiple partners of the opposite sex. And po'olua, children, as a child with one father figure and the ability to claim more than one genealogy.
Okay.
And these people weren't just tolerated, as the neo-Christian dogma indicates, but they're an intrinsic part of the social fabric. So this is from Hinole Moana Wong Kalu. She had a column last week in the Star Advertiser. So
Okay, homosexuality.
this is
sorry.
so I just want to note that. Do you believe that there's another interpretation, I guess, of the Hawaiian cultural view on this issue? That's apart from the Christian view.
I think that there is a different view no matter what nationality you are. But I would like to ask you a question. Yeah, first of all, homosexuality has been around for a very, very long time.
We're not,
Okay, but I have a question for you.
Here. He gets right now. The representative gets to ask the questions.
Yeah, you can ask
I thought you
questions.
were done. Okay.
There'll be a time we can talk. So you can send me a call and then you can meet in my office. But thank you very much.
If you can find something that
We're asking questions to the public. So.
if you can find something that says husband
any
and
other
wife.
questions? Okay, seeing none, let's go and move on to the next group. Next up, please.
Okay, for the last couple of days, the audience have been very good in being respectful and not making noises. Making noises is just gonna delay this. So if you could refrain from doing that, if you really need to, we ask you to leave because there are a lot of people waiting outside who want to take your seat. But this is for us to get information, and if you need to be disruptive, we are asking you to leave.
Please proceed.
Aloha, Chair, Roads, and Committees. Number 3482, I strongly oppose SB1. My name is Eli Kapie, husband of Rebecca Downey Kapie, proud father of Taylor, EJ, and Tia. I'm also senior pastor of Winter Missionary Church in Kaneohe. From Waipahu, graduated from Waipahu, attended and graduated from UH, and actually played for UH. And it's actually, to be honest, the first time I actually been proud to have played for UH. We never really did win a lot of games in my time. But my point is, I'm proud to be Hawaiian and from Hawaii and living in Hawaii. Now I want to speak to the Hawaiians and to the people of Hawaii and to the body of Jesus Christ. It's time to wake up and it's time to rise up. My shirt here on the back for you, but for the people who are not here watching on TV, you see the word aloha and you see the island state. The island state is rooted in aloha. For those of us who are not here, this special interest group, in my belief, from the mainland is taking our aloha and using it to market, to promote their agenda. The last time this happened, we lost our queen, we lost our kingdom, and we nearly lost our culture and our language. Our ancestors were forbidden to speak Hawaiian. So the same happened to the church if SB1 passes. My family and friends that are of the GLBT that want to be in civil union, I want them to have the benefits for two reasons. To protect the institution of marriage between man and a woman, but also to allow the legislature and the government to work together in expanding the civil unions, the benefits. According to the State Attorney General, the question was asked if it was at all possible to expand the benefits.
Thanks very much. Next up, please.
He said it was unlikely, not impossible.
3472, Rebecca Kapihe.
Thank you.
I stand in strong opposition to SB1. I, like my husband, am a native Hawaiian. I do not possess, even though I am a Kamehameha alum, I do not possess all the wisdom that my kupuna and those before them have had about our history, our laws, negativity happening. There's so much. Got an opportunity yesterday to sit in this audience, and the fight is so loud that I think it's hard to really hear clearly, not just the voice of Akua, but the voice of the people. I commend you guys for sitting up there. I cannot even sit for 20 minutes to listen to people talk as long as we have been talking about this situation. But we've been talking, and I appreciate that. I appreciate that we have a voice. In 1998, I was only 24 years old. I was a naive voter then, thinking that when we voted to give you guys the power to reserve marriage for opposite sex, I was under the assumption that reserve means to set aside for, not to change, to have the ability to change what we decided on. I was naive in the sense that, yes, my na'au said, say no, because then it doesn't give us a voice. I was naive in the sense that we gave that opportunity to you guys to uphold what we decide, what we the people wanted, and that was to keep the union of marriage between one man and one woman sacred. So I just implore you, I implore you to listen, and you are, I appreciate that, but just take the time to just listen and say no to this bill.
Thank you very much. Next up, please.
Good morning. My name is Randy Kimura, and my number is 3405. Thank you for allowing me to testify this morning. I believe marriage is between one man and one woman, and because of that, I'm opposed to SB1. When I heard that a special session was going to happen, I thought of this, that there would be special attention to the bill. There would be special detail, special consideration, and of course, special review. The thing that I want to discuss today is review. You know, we've been here for 5 to 7 days. Over 5,100 documents have come in. Over 2,000 people will probably testify. I don't know about you, but I've been here for the entire session. When do you have time to review this stuff and make a decision? I feel like it's being rushed, that this is an agenda. This is more of a session to pass versus a session to consider and review. I believe this, the rail project is currently going on, but even that took years to start. The rail will change the landscape of our land. This bill will have immediate changes, but also will have changes that will increasingly change the fabric of families and the people of this great state. You know, the cost of this session is $2.7 million. That's what I heard. If we make bad law, it is money that is wasted. $2.7 million. It's wasted. It's worth the $2.7 million to make the right decision, not any decision. You have the ability to go forward in this bill. You have the ability to stop it. You know, $2.7 billion, $1 million is a lot, but it's not a lot if we're making the right decision. So I want to thank you guys. Thank every one of you for participating, for listening today, and for taking everything. I know it's a hard decision, one that's been put in your laps to decide, but make the right decisions. Don't rush this. Take consideration and review everything. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Next, please.
Good morning. My name is Rita Kamakimura, and I am number 3404. 3404. As a Christian mother and grandmother, I strongly oppose the passage of this bill, SB1, to legalize same-sex marriage. I believe it will be the beginning of an assault on our Christian and citizens' rights and our children's well-being. It is not only about same-sex marriage, it's the door that it will open to other nefarious things to come, the same as has been done in Massachusetts and other states where it has been passed into law. One thing we do know, a promise made today can be easily broken tomorrow. Isn't it true that exemptions also given today can be taken away tomorrow? At this point, I'm going to divert from my testimony to bring up an email we got this morning from the Family Research Council. I have forwarded a copy to all of you
every day we go beyond that, which we will because we're already on Saturday, but it's 26,000, not 2.6 million. Okay, next.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Elsa Souza, and my number is 3506. Dear Honorable Chairs Rhodes and Luke, and members of the House of Judiciary and Finance Committees, thank you for hearing us today. I am a born and raised Wynwood resident and voter of Kailua. Thank you, Representative Cynthia Thielen, for your service in the community. I'm a mother of 2 college-age boys. They attend the University of Hawaii at West Oahu. It has always been very important to me to protect my sons physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. I was very careful about what they were exposed to. I didn't allow them to be around drugs, drinking, abuse, or sexual perversion of any kind. As a result, they are good community members of society. We always have choices to do what is right or wrong. If we do right, then life goes better for us and for society. If we choose to do wrong behaviors, there are consequences. We individually are hurt as well as a society. If someone chooses that kind of sexual orientation, that is their choice. They should not make a law to make everyone else choose it as well. It is not normal, nor were we designed for that type of union. Just like if you choose to do drugs, it is harmful to you, and if a law was made that it was okay to do drugs and teach it in schools, I would not want my children being taught that. You could choose to jump off a cliff and kill yourself as well, but don't force anyone else to go with you. Look at the studies that have been done on trying to legalize marijuana and gambling. These issues have been well documented of the harmful effects that legalizing it would have on society. Praise God that those bills have not passed. Why don't we take the same care and caution with SB1? On a broader scale, this is not a civil rights issue. Civil rights should be dealt with in the federal courts. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, please come up.
Good morning. My name is Van Law, and my number is 3402. Aloha, House Judiciary and Finance Committee members. I stand before you today in strong support of SB1 as passed by the State Senate. Proponents of marriage equality reason that it is simply a matter of love and equality. Opponents of SB1 argue that God himself has ordained them to embark on a crusade to kill the bill. My personal relationship with God is a close relationship, and I can wholeheartedly attest to his kindness, his patience, and his love. I only have praise for God. And I come before you to say that the hate and animosity coming from those claiming to speak on God's behalf runs contrary to everything that he is. I believe that God is unhappy, and I think I have proof. On February 23rd, 2011, when Governor Abercrombie signed the Civil Unions Bill into law, there was over 20,000 bolts of lightning around the island. The only report of damage came from a Catholic church that was struck by lightning and had its steeple destroyed. On November 23, 2013, the roof of Farrington High School auditorium crumbled under heavy rain. New Hope regularly used the auditorium to conduct their business prior to this act of God. I believe in the traditions of marriage. To me, these traditions of love and commitment, and neither love nor commitment stand contrary to what God has taught me. Please pass SB1. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Hello. Okay. Dear Chairs Rhodes and Luke and members of both House committees, my name is Leila Lee and my number is 3593. I am a small business owner who works with individuals with dyslexia. I was raised in Halawa at the Veterans Housing where the Aloha Stadium now stands, and now I reside in Ainahaina. Today I'm responding to the emotional comments made the other night by a very beautiful and well-spoken lesbian who seemed to have great bitterness toward our former Lieutenant Governor and an organization called Transformation. I want her to be assured that both the Lieutenant Governor and Transformation are not in any alliance with a gay retraction, or an apology. The other night's testifier also seemed to have anger against those she called radical Christians. The word radical can have many different meanings according to Merriam-Webster. It can be marked by a considerable departure from the usual tradition or advocating extreme measures to retain or restore a political state of affairs. I guess both groups here today can be labeled radical. I can be called a radical. I will confess I am part of Transformation. Transformation has been an extremely positive entity locally and globally. Transformation is teaching me how to love, even those who hate me. If a radical Christian is someone who talks and prays with a sex offender outside the Capitol while waving signs, then I am a radical Christian. If a radical Christian is someone who goes to those with opposite views and commends them for their convictions and gives them hugs, I'll come clean. I'm a radical Christian. If a radical Christian is someone who forgoes payment to the child of a soldier deployed to Afghanistan and whose mother lost her job, then I am a radical Christian. If a radical Christian is someone who visited the prisons and fed the homeless, then yes, I am a radical. So to the beautiful woman who testified, I and others like me are not here to hate. I love you and your friends, and can we just work together? Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, please come up. Next, please come up.
My name is Kristen Nagamine. I'm number 3477. Chair Rhodes, Chair Luke, and the committees on Judiciary and Finance, good morning. I'm a registered voter from Kailua. I'm 25 years old, a parent of a young child, and I'm also a student at UH Manoa, where I'm studying to become a teacher. I strongly oppose Senate Bill 1. I am in the 18 to 30 demographic. Though most think we are either apathetic to this issue or pro same-sex marriage, this is not the case. I, along with many others my age, in fact, do care strongly about preserving the sanctity of traditional marriage, keeping it between one man and one woman. This is our state and our future. If this bill passes, Hawaii will be drastically changed. As a parent, I want to protect my daughter from learning things in school that go against my beliefs and the values that I've tried to instill in her. This bill also will put the churches in the line of fire. The churches in which we worship, churches who go out of their way to help and partner with communities. Our country was founded with the goal of protecting religious freedom. However, this bill does not provide adequate protection for people of faith. Let us not turn our back on our history, our churches, our values, and our God. If this bill is passed, we are crossing into dangerous territory, and we will be making our churches extremely vulnerable. I am also very disturbed at the way this bill is being pushed through so quickly, without letting the people of Hawaii vote. If this bill is passed without a ballot, we will be stripped of our voices and the democratic process will have been tainted. The people's trust in you as our representatives is at stake. I urge you to vote no to this bill and preserve Hawaii's values and the integrity of our democracy. Give the decision back to the people. An issue of this magnitude needs to be considered by all the people of Hawaii because all the people of Hawaii will be affected. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please come up.
Aloha, Chair Luke, Chair Rhodes, and members of the Judiciary and Finance Committees. My name is Gary Okino. My number is 3505. I know you've been hearing all of these arguments against, well, first of all, I am strongly opposed to SB1. I know you've heard all of these arguments why SB1 is not good, but tonight I'd like to focus on one specific concern which I think will make the difference. Suppose I came to you and I told you that I want you to pass a bill that hurts children. You would be outraged, right? And yet, you've been hearing over and over again what's happening in Massachusetts, in Canada, other countries that have same-sex marriage. Yeah, it's real. It's happening. So why are so many of you, why do you seem so unconcerned about what this might happen to our children? Okay? Is it because I heard there's a message going around saying that the stuff coming out of Massachusetts is half-truths, misinterpretations, and outright lies, okay? But I can tell you, that message does not come with any evidence that affects our children. Last night, you heard, I think her name was Professor Mulvaney, say that there is no difference in children raised in same-sex families as in heterosexual families. She based her study on a survey, a small sample survey based on a convenience sample that slants the data. Dr. Mark Regnerus has come up with a family survey study that shows clearly, that has a strong basis, strong sample that shows clearly that there is a distinct, very distinct worse outcome with same-sex children. And with that, I just urge you to vote no against this bill.
Thank you. Next.
Hi. Good morning, everybody. I think I met some of you before on various ag-related issues or through my parents' Chinese associations and stuff. My name is Alvin Law, and my number is 3560. I'm in full support of SB1 as it's passed by the state Senate. This is my partner, Lyle Rowe, and we've been together in a loving, committed relationship for over 7 years now. I'm a local boy that grew up here on the islands and graduated from the North Shore before leaving for school and work. My partner and I moved back here to help run my family's farm out in Eva Beach. Let me tell you, the only thing tougher than being a farmer out here is just, being a gay farmer too. So we came out today to show you and the people watching at home a positive side in the face that SB1 affects. All these negative testimonies are why we need to be protected and even more reason why you need to take a leadership role here and pass the bill. My straight brother, my cousins, they have the opportunity to marry somebody they love. All I'm asking for is the same right and opportunity to choose to get married to the person I love. So, sorry. People keep talking about more time, but frankly, we've been talking about this for decades, so time for action is now. And I'd like to get married sometime while I'm in my 30s, so thank you.
Thank you. Next up.
Honored chairs and committee members, my name is Kei Hishinuma. My number is 3565, and I represent myself and the members of my family who could not be here to testify themselves. We all stand in strong opposition of this bill. Having watched the many hundreds of testimonies that have been given since Monday, I commend you for sitting there for all of these hours. I'm kind of ADHD, and sitting for this long in just the time that I have been here for the last, since Monday, has been unbearable. I can only imagine how you feel. But there are several points that seem to be clear. Very clear to me, having been here all these days, is that the vast majority of Hawaii's people stand in strong opposition to this bill as it's written, and as witnessed by the fact that so many thousands have been out here and so many thousands have come to testify just to this proceeding. I think the Senate would have heard a heck of a lot more had they allowed it. I cannot recall a time in history, nor can I find anyone of an age to tell me if this has ever happened in the history of Hawaii. Certainly, I cannot recall this many people standing up to say anything. Critical answers are not here. The questions remain unanswered as to what this bill can and cannot cover, what it can and cannot do to protect both sides. And my heart is, last night I heard something very telling that just spoke to my heart. You are the only legislative body that does not have to make an immediate decision. You are the only governing body that we have that is not forced by the strictures of time to make a decision. Some very good suggestions have been made in the last few days. And lots of those suggestions are good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Dear Honorable Chairs Rhodes and Luke and members the wording of laws matters. I oppose SB1 because I now have 40 years of history to see what activism can do with a definition change. I will not have the time in 2 minutes to cover the history and my concerns with definition changes in the May 2013 publication of the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual for Mental Disorders in relation to this bill, and page 13. I hope you will ask me questions, even though I'm extremely nervous. Before 1973, homosexuality was listed under the heading of sexual deviancy. Activism from without and within the American Psychiatric Association succeeded in changing the definition and diagnosis of homosexuality. Dr. Spitzer was one of the activists. He is the author, and in his proposal, he stated, when all the arguments are carefully examined, a few simple statements can be made with which hardly anyone can disagree. Modern methods of treatment enable a significant proportion of homosexuals who wish to change their sexual orientation to do so. By no longer listing it as a psychiatric disorder, we are not saying that it is normal or as valuable as heterosexuality. Today, through activism, homosexuality is not even referenced, and you do not have the freedom of speech or religion to voice the above statements without possible legal action for discrimination. Laws have been passed in some states to make it illegal for those in the psychiatric field to treat people who do not want to be homosexual. In Hawaii, we have seen activists attempt to use the equal rights platform to censure our elected officials for doing their job of representing us. The LGBT community supports this bill, so the activism will continue because this law will not allow them to marry all they might love. As of May, the DSM paraphilic disorders are now non-diagnosable variations of sexual behavior until certain criteria is met, and sexual orientation is now officially not just hetero or homosexual. Please carefully consider the language in this bill in light of APA definition changes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next.
Aloha, kia kua.
Aloha.
My name is Noreen Machida, number 3435. Honorable Chairman Rhodes, Luke, and members of the Judiciary and Finance Committee, I am strongly opposed to SB1 and the calling of a special session. I'm Hawaiian, Chinese, Japanese, and along with so many indigenous Hawaiian people, ask where is their special session for their rights? I'm opposed to this special session, but I am thankful and grateful for the process that you have decided, which is allowing 2-minute testimonies, not one, letting everyone who signed up speak, and not ending in one day at 10 p.m., and then being attentive and interested in what I am about to say by calling people back to testify. When I look at what happened on Monday at the Senate session, and then I pull out the article from October 6, and I look at how many people voted no and how many people in the Senate voted yes, that didn't change. It didn't matter to what the people had said that day. And so that really concerned me and brought me out today. Therefore, when I look at this poll here, that 27 are voting yes, 17 are voting no, and 7 are undecided, I stand here and I wonder how many of these testimonies, thousands of testimonies, have changed the 27 yeses, or have changed the 7 decided, or even changed the 17 no's. So I plead with you to listen to what the majority of people are saying. I stand before God and I ask that you protect the institution of marriage that God had ordained. You know, so many people quote scriptures from that God is love. He is. But Jesus forgave all, loved all, but he said, go and sin no more. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please come up.
Okay. Aloha mai kako. I am Karma Kim. I have number 3532. I am from Makakilo, and I submit an online testimony. I just want to add to that. I strongly oppose same-sex marriage. I am a nursing student from UH Manoa, and today I want to share what I have learned from nursing school. Trying to be a great nurse, we evidence-based practice. We look up on what the literature says on certain disease, medicine, or procedures. We conduct studies with high validity to provide a better outcome for our patients who is in the center of our care. Representatives has been asking experts to share their thoughts on same-sex marriage bill, knowing that opinions provide the weakest evidence. I also saw how the representatives did a research not to see the true effects of the bill, but to refute the testifiers' arguments. I urge you, please, to have a research body with trustworthy people with no bias to conduct studies that sole purpose is to provide the strongest evidence on the effects, good and bad, of same-sex marriage to states that had passed the bill. Effects of same-sex marriage are not well documented. Our people cannot be mere guinea pigs. Representatives should not just rush to pass this bill. You owe it to us, the people, to know the real outcomes before jumping into conclusion and taking irreversible action. See if the benefits outweigh the risk. You would want me to look up an unfamiliar medication before I pass it to you, right? You would want that because I owe it to you. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Next up, please come up.
My name is K.E. Lani Briones, number 3456, and I oppose SB1. Growing up in Hawaii isn't something I would ever give up. I didn't truly appreciate what a special place this is until I left the islands, and people were so jealous when I call Hawaii my home that I call myself Hawaiian because Hawaii is our paradise. We know what makes Hawaii our paradise. It's the aloha spirit, the aloha, the breath of life. This life comes from our family, from knowing who we come from, and knowing that we will have generations to follow us, to pass that ha from generation to generation. Many people have quoted the state motto, focusing on the righteousness, but let's focus on the life. This life can only come through traditional marriage. Our life in Hawaii is focused around our family, and this issue is about our families. We can simply see it by the many sacrifices that people have made to come down here. The issue is more important than work, than 6 siblings, than school, than birthday celebrations, than favorite TV shows. People are watching Olelo as families. It's easy to see our family unit is the priority of our society. And like the mama bear, when we sense some danger, we immediately do what we can to protect our family. Thousands of people are sensing this danger. It's not something that you can quantify or can clearly describe. It's something that you sense. And it's being mislabeled as fear, but it's not. It's a sense you get when you know that you need to take a specific action. It might speak to you as conscience. When I sense something amiss, I pause and take a step back because generally I'm too close to an issue to see it clearly. It's then that I'm in a position to make the best decision I can to protect my family, which is my life. I would ask you to pause and take a step back because this issue is not only about same-sex marriage. It's so much bigger than that. Take the time to see the big picture and how this will influence the life of the land.
Thank you. Next.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tara Caparita. I'm number 3600. I oppose this bill. This is my very futile attempt to try and convince you to kill the bill, just allow us as state citizens in Hawaii to vote. I grew up here. I'm going to say I'm a Christian, but I'm not going to be all pious here for fear of being patronized, called back in a Q&A. You all forgive my candor, but this is my observation. You're all very biased, and I don't feel like this is a very good representation of our state. Obviously, I've been following this since Monday, and I know that a lot of us are opposed to this bill. Just give me the right to vote. I just want to vote. I represent the 20-something generation, young female, dare I say, slightly conservative. I know it's kind of a dirty word here, but I do have my beliefs. And I feel like there really are more of me that couldn't be here. I also grew up on Molokai, so there are many people from the outer islands who could not be here and afford the chance
less than 2 minutes, because that's not going to happen. Just please listen. And I, just thank you for this time again. I respect all of you, like really, truly, for all you do. And again, thank you so much for allowing me this opportunity. I will only be open to Q&A if you can properly guess my age. I'm not 12 years old. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
My name is Eri Teri Taofa Terry Chung, and my grandfather is Albert Teri Taofa Terry from the island of Tahiti. I am against, my number is 3588.
Thank you.
I'm against same-sex marriage because this will seriously damage, confuse, and harm children who are forced to live in this lifestyle. And in the eyes of God, you will all be making history by recreating Sodom and Gomorrah. And their blood will be on your head and your children's head. And I say to you who are in favor, all of you who are in favor of same-sex marriage, to give up your children and your children's children to live in the lifestyle. And I don't think any of you, many of you will do that. And you all forget, we the voting people, God's voting people, the public, we the one who gave you your jobs. You can make your own laws and overrule us, but you forget at the election time, we the one can give you back your jobs. Joe Suki, New Abercrombie, and Clayton Heath, they don't have to worry. They're set already. They set. The guy's got to worry is you. All we got to do is run one commercial with your names on it and say, these are the people who voted for same-sex marriage. But your jobs is to uphold the man-made constitution of the separation of church and state, which means to separate God and his people, who is the church, from you, the state, the lawmakers. And we don't hate gay people because we have family who are gay and we love them. What we hate is evil and the way evil does business in this state.
Okay, next.
Aloha here we go. There we go. Can you hear me? Okay. Aloha representatives, fence sitters, and non. My name is Jean Wasden, number 3510. I am strongly opposed to SB1 and the redefinition of marriage. Thursday morning, the Attorney General was asked specific questions about the implications of SB1 on religious organizations and individuals. His answers were vague and non-committal. His only definitive answers were for his strong support of SB1 as it stands and his strong opposition to any broad religious exemptions for organizations or individuals, because it would gut the Accommodations Act administered by the Civil Rights Commission. This tells me that he has no interest in my constitutional rights, that the ambiguously determined civil rights of a minority are more important than the very First Amendment of the Constitution. So let's talk about something else. Let's talk about your rights. I've watched you as both sides of this debate give testimony. I imagine you thinking, oh, religious right-wing nut, or left-wing liberal progressive. Many people think about political parties in a linear way. Actually, it's a circle. We're all much closer than you may suppose. The other side of the circle is tyranny, either through right-wing fascism or left-wing communism. If you decide to pry my constitutional rights of free expression and free exercise of religion from my hands, you are lifting both ends of the stick. Yours are gone too. The gaping hole you leave in our protections against tyranny will haunt you and yours for generations. You see yourselves as progressive thinkers, but what are you progressing toward? The Bill of Rights exists to cement certain rights that the founders, from hundreds of years of tyranny, recognized as vital to the survival of a civilization. You are allowing the right of sexual conscience. You will have nowhere to hide when a stronger, louder, and increasingly aggressive, powerful government silences the educated and infringes on your values. Thomas Jefferson elucidated the rights that governments were designed to protect and said, I have sworn, I pray for you. Thank you.
Next.
Hi, my name is Laura Burbidge, and my number is 3500. Thank you for the valiant effort to hear all of the testimony. That's commendable, about 5,000 of them. As a civics teacher, economics and debate teacher, I go over with my students that the Hawaii State Constitution is the highest law of the land. Any amendment to our state constitution needs to come by the electorate, needs to be voted upon. I also tell them that the people decide these issues as it should be, especially ones of this magnitude. I also told my students about 1998, the sign waving, the gathering of petitions, holding rallies, and the final outcome, thinking that this was over. When I teach again, what should I say to my students? The 13-word constitutional amendment, and let's go to a little grammar lesson here. The subject is a legislature. The verb is shall have the power. The direct object is a prepositional phrase, to reserve marriage. That's a direct object. To whom or for whom? Opposite sex couples. That's pretty clear. Pretty clear. That's a grammatically correct structure with clear intent. As a debate coach, none of my students would be able to argue this amendment means that the legislature has the power to define marriage in any other way. This is ad absurdum, pardon my Latin. We all know what the intent of the people was in that vote. Will every constitutional amendment die the death of 1,000 qualifications from now on? Did we also need to put in an amendment saying that marriage cannot be between same-sex couples? Did we also need to put in that marriage cannot be between two men and one woman? You get the point. The 13-word constitutional amendment cannot be any clearer. I believe you will discourage the electorate if you pass this. Thank you very much.
Next.
Aloha. My name is Mark Wolfersberger. I'm number 3568. I am opposed to SB1. I would like to present a solution and offer some advice. First, the solution. We've seen that people are very divided on this issue, and the two positions on SB1 seem to be diametrically opposed. To pass SB1 and redefine marriage grants gay and lesbian couples federal benefits, yet it opens the door to serious religious and educational concerns. And to do nothing, in other words, to not pass SB1, would address the concerns of the majority, yet leave out our LGBT community. We need a solution that can bridge this divide. I believe I have a solution that does just that. The solution is for this issue to be settled at the federal level. We need to implore our federal senators and representatives for the state of Hawaii to introduce federal legislation that would recognize same-sex civil unions across the country. This kind of legislation would leave the definition of marriage intact in the state of Hawaii, allaying the concerns of many of our citizens, while affording federal benefits to our gay and lesbian friends. Furthermore, this solution may help other states in the union that find themselves in the same predicament. Second, my advice. I believe that a political opportunity has presented itself. Some congresspersons may assume that since the next election is far away, the repercussions of their vote on the issue will be minimized. However, with websites such as www.hawaiiremembers.com emerging, and given the gravity of this issue, make no mistake, the people will remember. To your advantage, on Wednesday, 20 of your colleagues in the Hawaii Senate voted in support of SB1, seriously jeopardizing their re-election chances. When you vote no on SB1 at this time, during this session, your political future will become significantly brighter in the eyes of the people of Hawaii. Thank you.
Next.
My name is Brian Chan. to share my view to the committee. I'm a first-generation Chinese American living in Hawaii 20 years. I grew up in Hong Kong. My wife grew up in China. As we come over, we believe in God. We believe in the Bible. We don't support the bill, same-sex marriage. I'd like to share with you a Bible verse. This is what the whole Bible, what we believe. In Romans chapter 1, 27, in the same way, the men also abandoned natural relations with women, were inflamed with lust for one another. Men commit indecent acts with another man and receive in themselves the due penalty for their perversion. Furthermore, since they did not think it worthwhile to retain the knowledge of God, He gave them over to perverse mind to do what ought not to be done. In verse 32, although they know God's righteous decree that those who do not do such things deserve death, they not only continue to do these very things, but also approve of those who practice them. I'm not condemning anybody, but something I want to remind everybody, particularly all you folks making the decision. I have a family, I have a son, I have a daughter. It's very difficult for us to teach them what is right, what is wrong nowadays. I teach them the Bible. And the law, the school, teach us different things. I keep on coming back to telling my sons, no, you can study Genesis, but that is true.
Okay,
thank
you. Next up.
So my number is 3530, and my name is Dr. John Mascaro, and I'm in strong support of SB1. I'm a psychotherapist licensed in Hawaii as a marriage and family therapist, and I have a doctorate in psychology. I work with Department of Health through an agency and a program called Intensive In-Home Therapy. For many years, I have been working with children who have emotional and behavioral issues. I also work with their families to help stabilize and give therapeutic support. Over the years, I have worked with many families and homes. Most of these families I work with are hurting and struggling to survive from day to day. They do not have gay marriage on their radar. This is not an issue that affects or changes the marriages that they have. Most are struggling to make enough money to survive so that they can take care of their families. I work as a therapist with couples who have marriage problems, and I can tell you that I have not heard one couple say to me that they are having problems in their marriage because gay people will be allowed to marry. Getting married and staying in a healthy, loving marriage is one of the toughest challenges we face, but it is something that everyone in Hawaii should be allowed to take part in. There are plenty of people who have testified about how non-traditional marriage is when looking at the Bible, so I don't need to restate that point here. Just to quote one of my favorite quotes regarding Paul to the letter to the Corinthians, when he talks about, maybe it's not even, now to the unmarried and to the widows I say, it is good for them to stay unmarried, as I am. So he was just as undecided about it. The point, marriage has evolved over time. Even in the Catholic Church, it wasn't until 1274 that marriage was listed as one of the 7 sacraments. This issue is about civil rights. Rights should never be voted on by the people. We should never allow a vote of the people to circumvent the rights of a minority when it comes to civil liberties. Thank you very much.
Thank you. At this point, we're going to take questions from the members of all the testifiers that just went. Representative Thielen.
Okay. Is it, I believe, Alvin Law, if I'm pronouncing that correctly? Mr. Law, I thank you very much for being here, as I thank the other people. as I thank everyone else. Mr. Law, there's an exemption in the bill, and I just wanted to ask you if this is something that would be difficult for you or if it's acceptable. It states that on page 6 of the bill under 572-F, no religious organization shall be subject to any fine, penalty, injunction, administrative proceeding, or civil liability for refusing to make its facilities or grounds available for solemnization of any marriage celebration under this bill, which means basically that some churches or religious organizations can refuse to perform marriages. Is that a problem, or are there enough churches and other organizations and civil marriage structures available?
I don't think that's a problem under the current bill. There's enough places to get married, and to be honest, I'm not in a particular church, so I'm not going to go to the New Hope Church and ask them to get me married or use their facilities. So, and I'm not going to support a church that doesn't support me or my lifestyle anyway. So I think it's fine the way it is.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Suji.
Mr. Law, if I can call you back, Alvin Law.
Hi, Representative Suji.
How are you this morning, Alvin?
Good.
Thank you very much for giving up your time from your busy agricultural endeavors on the family farm to come and testify this morning. I'm taking this from the family entity. You and your partner are here this morning. He also said that you have a brother. I think you used the term straight. But you do have parents also?
Yeah.
This comes from a family environment. And if it did occur, did maybe a gathering of the family, you, your brother, your parents, how does one in your social structure relate your feelings or who or what you are to your brother, to your parents? And if I may, what was the reaction, if you don't mind answering that?
I guess I came out to, my parents when I was about 22 or 23.
How old are you now?
I am 32 now.
Thank you.
So I came out to them, and, my family are Chinese immigrants here. So it took them a little bit in order to understand. And, there's, my mom was like, you can't be gay. Like, that's not it. You just choose to love a woman, it's fine. And I told her that's not how it is for me. And this is just who I am. Doesn't change me as a person. It's just that, I'm not attracted to women. I'm attracted to men. And so it took her a while, but now, my partner and I both moved back home to Hawaii, so my parents are fully accepting of it. She said it took her a while to understand that, meet different types of people, different groups of people, understand that there's love out there and it's different and it's not always the same for a person or not. And she's, as long as I'm happy and being with the person that treats me well, and she's comfortable with that. So we both work on the farm, we both help out the farm, so they're both accepting of it, so.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Chair,
you
maybe
have
one more
ahead.
question, if you don't mind. Thank you very much. Now, let me see where I am. Mr. Van Law is.
Hi.
Van, basically in your testimony, what I'm requesting is, through my observation and maybe further expansion of your testimony. I think you mentioned a Catholic church and a New Hope church, and there was some consequences that seemed negative, but your thought is because of the position of these churches, these natural phenomena, if I may say, was based on their church's belief and their preachings. Could you expand on that? Or could you clarify for my
but I think God is mostly angry about the tone and the rhetoric that has been coming out from that side, especially in the Bible. A lot of stories about Jesus getting angry at people were when he reacted to the Pharisees who believed they knew the law above everyone else. He also got angry at the church for selling products in his temple in his name and making a profit. And I think those things are what God is most angry about.
So what you're saying is, in short, then, the results that took place on these two facilities that you mentioned are the results of the Lord's anger? Is that what you're saying?
I think they are acts of God, yes.
God. Another question I have, and correct me if I'm wrong, just for my note-taking. The right wing will make a million excuses in this contentious issue. Could you elaborate further on that comment?
After hearing testimony after testimony, I think I can sum it up as the right will say anything just to testify against us. They'll make lies about us, like specifically that will teach children about sex, and also that passing gay marriage will lead to polygamy and pedophilia. We are not for polygamy. We are not for pedophilia. And all these lies and hate are not true to who the gay and lesbian people are.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Ward.
Chair, Pastor Kahipe, Kapihe, sorry. While he's coming up, I was reminded what Lincoln said. It's not that God is on either of the sides of you two groups out there. The issue is whether we are on God's side. I think that puts it together. Pastor Kapihe, you are a pastor. This bill has exemptions, and you heard from others that, hey, these exemptions are good, they're not so good. What is your opinion of the exemptions in SB1?
I think the exemptions are very limited.
And by that you mean?
That if someone that doesn't fall into our beliefs on traditional marriage, will we have the protection to, I mean, obviously we say, according to the bill, that we don't have to do the solemnization, but if they want to come in and use our facility, is there any way we can prevent that?
And your sense of that, or your security in that regard is what?
I'm unsure.
Unsure.
Yeah, do we have that protection?
Okay, so you would like to see the bill stronger, you'd see like protections a bit more secure?
Yes.
Do you have other small businesses in your church who have voiced their concern to you, whether they're bakers or florists or other ancillary services to weddings?
Yes.
We haven't heard from many business people, by the way. I say that because they haven't, as a group, stepped
forward. And in fact, we do have marketplace ministers who have committed their business as a vehicle to express their faith. And so if this bill passes, I believe it will contend or get in the way or infringing on their religious beliefs as well in doing and practicing their business.
Okay, thank you, Pastor.
Thank you, Representative.
I have one more question to follow up to Gary Aquino, if he's still here. And while he's coming, yeah, I know Gary is radioactive.
Representative Ward, I think does anybody else have a question for the pastor before we let him go instead of having him walk back and forth? Okay, yeah, Representative Johansson followed by Representative Ng.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Pastor Ellie. You alluded to it actually in your written testimony and very subtly in answer to Representative Ward's question, but you brought up a notion of First Amendment rights, and I think the bill expressly deals with just to hear why you at all have some concerns about First Amendment rights professionally.
Our churches, and I believe I speak for many churches in Hawaii, we are constantly making accommodations to the public. We exist for the public, not just for our congregation or for our people. So there are people, families within the community that need some space in case of a wedding, a reception, and between a man and a woman. So we want to be a blessing. We want to be of service to the community and meet that felt need. So we allow them to use the facility. For us, we don't have any set price. If you want to give a donation, you can, but you don't have to give. So if this bill passes, if a same-sex marriage couple wants to use our facility, do we have the rights to say, are we protected and say, because of our religious belief, we want to deny that request? Are we able to do that?
I think, and just one quick follow-up question, Chair, with respect to, your First Amendment rights and freedom of speech. Is it your concern or contention that potentially,
yes,
maybe if I could just finish the question.
Oh, sorry.
That potentially, if the state sanctions thereby same-sex marriage, thereby making it an official state policy, that it sets up you potentially in your professional capacity, a tension there between what you and your church may personally believe and now what is the official policy of the state.
Thank you for asking that question, because does that mean I have to change what I preach? Can I no longer speak against homosexuality or against what I believe in the scriptures? Will I get prosecuted for preaching that message or teaching our people, my family, my kids, that yes, on one hand, we accept and we show grace and mercy and love, even though many people may not feel that way, but that's, at the same time, stand for our truth and stand for what we believe is right. And will we get persecuted or prosecuted both and spend the rest of our time in litigation and prevent the church from doing its mission? So our resources will be robbed, and it would hinder our calling, our vocation, and everything, why we do what we do as ministers in the church.
Thank you. Representative Ng.
Thank you, Pastor, for your very convicted testimony. I appreciate your description of aloha and where it comes from. I think it's a great discussion to open up in all this, and how you have concerns that people that aren't Hawaiian are coming in and giving their own notions of Hawaiian, of aloha. So I wanted to ask you, when do you think the practice and spirit of aloha was formed, and by who?
I really do believe it is from the Lord.